Hey everybody, Jem Schofield of the C47 and another episode of Gearbox 2.0. In this episode, we're going to be talking about RAW over HDMI? Really? Okay, let's get started. Okay, kids. So here it is, another Wednesday, another Gearbox. And this one came as a little bit of a surprise. In fact, I had a different idea for an episode this week. Then I got an email yesterday that said, hey, can you log into a webinar tomorrow morning about a new announcement from Atomos? Now, I have been to NAB, which is a gigantic trade show that happens in Las Vegas every April. Since I can pretty much remember, last 17, 18 years, with one exception. When one of my kids was being born, I had two NAB babies. One of them came about 48 hours after I came back from the show, and I didn't want to risk it the next time that happened, so I just skipped it altogether. Now, this trade show is basically, along with IBC in Amsterdam in September, the two largest shows in the world that have to do with the broadcast, video production, and filmmaking world. And I teach there every year. And this past NAB, last April, there was a lot of brouhaha from Atomos on a new product that they announced, which was the Ninja 5, Roman numeral, which is a 5-inch monitor recording solution. Took a lot of their R&D over the last many years, and also promised not only to have an HDMI-based recording solution for mirrorless and digital cinema cameras where you could quickly and easily get to ProRes codecs and record in RAW and stuff like that. They subsequently announced support for ProRes RAW, which is an Apple codec. Maybe that announcement actually happened at NAB. I can't even remember it all happened so fast. But they also said that they were going to add additional functionality with little modules that went on. But when I got this email yesterday, I was actually very surprised, because I did not expect that we would be getting RAW over HDMI 2.0, and that is in fact what looks to be happening. Now, I do want to say, and I'll link to the News Shooter article about this, that this is evolving, but it is working. And I was on the webinar today with Jeremy Young, who is the CEO of Atomos, and they have implemented this solution along with Nikon or Nikon, depending on where you are and how you pronounce it, with their Z or Z6 and Z or Z7 mirrorless cameras. So this is a close working relationship in order for this to happen. And basically, one thing I confirmed is that it is 12-bit, which is very promising, that it is passing ones and zeros over that HDMI, that it is seemingly not something that is going against the HDMI specification, so that they're not really doing or are not doing anything that is outside of that and is going to be legally any type of problem, and that other camera companies will hopefully follow, but I think that that's going to be up to them. Now, what's interesting about Atomos is they kind of control the whole pipeline. But ProRes RAW is interesting because it is not seemingly proprietary, in the sense that, yes, it is Apple's container for a version of ProRes that is RAW, so it is a compressed RAW, but it doesn't require the manufacturers of the cameras to necessarily open up all of their intellectual property in order for those handshakes and that passing of data to happen. So this is exciting for me, because it means that we're just going to be able to capture more information from the sensors of these camera systems, and it will give us subsequently more choices in post-production to do things with those images. So it's not necessarily that I'm excited about the fact that it's Nikon cameras. It's the fact that it's working, and that within, it seems like 3 to 6 months or so, that we should really be seeing this, I'm hoping by NAB, but we'll have to see, really out there in the wild. And it's exciting to see that in the smaller form factors, we're now suddenly in 2018 and 2019 seeing these big jumps in terms of what these types of recording devices and camera systems can give us. So the black hole now is monitoring, and I've had enough conversations with companies to know that there is attention on that in terms of higher resolution. I would really, really like it if I was moving towards, when I'm shooting in UHD 4K and DCI 4K, looking at images that are 1-to-1 pixel representations of what I'm capturing. It does make focusing a lot easier. And I'd really like to see even more of the dynamic range and the gamut that my cameras are capturing, so I can make informed decisions in terms of lighting and also what I am doing with my images when they get pushed out into the world as we move towards these HDR displays with wider color gamuts and also dynamic range, or gamma. So exciting stuff. Again, I will link below the fold in the description to the News Shooter article. It is evolving. Eric is at the show right now, so I'm sure they'll be updating either that article or adding additional ones with more information about RAW over HDMI. It is possible. It's working. It's exciting. I want to see it in other camera systems sooner rather than later. We'll have to see where these camera manufacturers go in terms of opening up their cameras and the ability to be able to do this. Obviously, ProRes RAW is already something that is very much available on digital cinema cameras. The question will be how many of these companies will take their mirrorless solutions and open them up. Nikon doesn't really have anything to lose, because they don't have a product line in terms of digital cinema cameras that they have to worry about. That is not really true for most of the other manufacturers, save at this point in time, maybe Fujifilm. But everybody else out there does have product line that is above that mirrorless space, so they have to be careful about that. And by the way, all digital cinema cameras and mirrorless cameras, it's just a name we give to these small format versions of these cameras, which are basically becoming in many ways replacements for DSLRs. So there you go, more of a stream of consciousness this week in terms of this announcement of RAW, or ProRes RAW over HDMI. Last week was a tutorial on the X-T3. I think I'll be doing something more educational next week, and I'll see you guys next time on Gearbox.